Hello and welcome back to the first video in over 12 months. I've been missing in action for some time. So this one I'm actually working on an old piece that I'd created over 2 years ago. It was an abstract that I did for an event, and so I didn't really like it. It's been sat in my garage for a long time along with others that I'd created at the same time. So I've decided to go back and add some extra details to this. So I'm creating a mermaid in what's supposed to be the water effect, and so I'm just going to paint in the basic shapes to start off with, and then I'll go back in with detail. So I just add in a bit of colour. Now I don't want it to be hyper realistic, so it's more about the texture and the abstract background. So nothing's perfect, it's just blocking in the colours. Now the skin tone's got a slight bluey undertone to it, just to give the impression that it's underwater. And also I'm doing glazes on top to allow the blue to shine through on the pink skin, just so that it gives the impression that it is underwater. So you're probably wondering where I've been for the last 12 months. Well, some of you may know that I had problems with my left arm in that I couldn't move it very much, and it turns out after getting x-rays and ultrasounds that I've actually got arthritis in my neck, which was affecting my left arm. So it's taken quite a while for me to get good movement in my arm. Now I've got about 90% movement. I haven't got the full use of it back yet, but I am able to start painting for longer periods now, and so I thought, okay, it's time to maybe start videoing some art again, but being mindful that I don't overdo it and don't put pressure on my neck, which then in turn affects my arm. So for the background here, I've decided to add a touch more of the water. So I'm using a kitchen spatula, which I've taken the handle off, and I'll use that to, a bit like a catalyst wedge, to spread the paint around. And again, to keep it more abstract, I didn't want to use a brush in this area, so I'm just using the wedge to just pull the paint across. Now, as the underpainting has got a lot of texture, the paint glides across the top, so it's keeping some of that colour underneath. So I'm not completely covering it, I'm just adding some extra tones to it to give the feel of the water. And again, around the bottom there, I didn't like that area, so I'm just adding a little bit more colour and a little bit more movement in that area. Now I also felt that this area just needed a little bit more contrast, so now I'm adding a little bit of Payne's grey over the top, and again I'm being mindful to just drag it across the surface so I don't cover too much of that under colour, and we've still got that coming through, and then it does add a lot more texture to the piece, and it does give it more of a feel of the water flowing through the female form. Now again, I was just using the Payne's grey here, but I'm also using a touch of phthalo turquoise and white to try and help lift areas and create more depth in the water by creating more layers on top. So now I'm going to go over with some stencils to create some extra dimension to it. So I'm just creating swirls, bubbles and lines to bring out more of the flow of the water, and this does help to add a lot more texture. So I'm just going to go in certain areas, and I'm looking where I can add contrast and highlights and shadows and extra depth. And I'll just keep going and adding more and more layers on top until I'm happy with the final outcome. I'm also using a wet wipe to pull some of the paint off, and this helps bring some of the original colour back through also. And I'm also using the wipe to wipe some of the colour from the stencil, which then again adds some subtle marks to the piece. I hope you enjoyed my first video back in over 12 months. I certainly enjoyed being back creating some videos, so I'm hoping that all is well with my neck and arm and that I'm able to create some more videos, so watch this space. But if you have any comments on pieces that you'd like to see me creating, then please leave some comments about that as also. So until next time, bye for now.